you doing?
How would you describe that one? I mean, the third period was pretty furious comeback that I'm sure you're somewhat proud of, but getting yourself in that hole in the first place, what's your overall assessment?
I thought we had a good start to the game. First 7-8 minutes, we end up with probably 3 or 4 opportunities to create grade A looks. Now, some of them didn't materialize because we don't execute, but there were opportunities there, 2-on-1s, things of that nature. Mika was in alone. They go down on their first chance, it goes in the net. So I thought the start of the game was pretty good. I thought from stretches in the second period, for example, I thought we were pushing. We had a lot of zone time. We were, I thought we were playing hard, playing on our toes. The types of looks that we gave them, I think, was probably the biggest takeaway. They've got a dynamic offensive team, and they've got some skill that can score goals. And when you look at the types of goals that they got, a lot of them were pretty high quality looks. It's not so much they got a lot of them, but the ones they got were pretty good, and they finished on them. So some of it was just, I think, our play in the high ice in the offensive zone, making sure we're strong on pucks, and if we turn pucks over in that area of the rink, it's hard to recover. We got to make sure we don't get beat out of deep ice in the offensive zone. I thought a couple of times we had opportunities to stay above people, and we don't, and they get some looks that way. So I think the types of chances that we gave up were too high a quality, where we had opportunities to I think try to negate some of that. But I give the players, I think, the fight we had in the third period, the energy. We almost won in regulation. We had a couple of looks right at the end of the game to break it open. Their goalie made a couple of pretty big saves for them to take it to overtime. For me, that was the biggest takeaway. Is just we've got to make sure that we don't give the types of looks, and most of those were off the rush.
The Perreault obviously is instrumental in the comeback. But just more generally, how much do you sense his confidence building lately, and how much of an example of it was that third period?
Yeah, I think his confidence is growing. I talked about this after the last game. He's hanging on to pucks more. He really sees it. He makes some pretty good plays where, you don't think he sees people, and he made a spinorama play to Mika in the slot. That's a high-end play. So I do think his confidence is growing. He obviously had a strong game tonight. He scores a couple of goals. That should help him with his confidence. I bumped him up in the overtime with Vince because I thought he was playing pretty good, and I thought he was deserving.
You got some offensive contributions out of Morgan too. He's not a guy that normally produces goals, and that's a pretty nice pass to Gabe there.
Super nice. Yeah, he made a great play. He joins the rush. A big part of creating off the rush is getting your D involved with a four-man attack, and that was an example of it where he jumped into the rush and makes a really nice play to Gabe. Vladdy makes a great play in the offensive zone. The goal he scores, he's inside by the blue paint. So, I thought our D made an impact offensively tonight, just getting involved, whether it be off the offensive blue line like Vladdy did, or whether it's Will Borgen off the rush the way he did.
The game obviously changed with the goalie interference call, but you guys had a similar play go your way on Saturday. Just curious for you as a coach, and I was talking to Will Cooley about it a little bit. I'm sure you encourage guys to get to the blue paint, right? Get to the blue, but now it seems like the rule is pretty clear that you have to stay out of it. Is it getting more clear, you think?
I don't think so. I don't think it's that clear. I'd be curious as to what the factor was that, the reason that they chose, the other night, for example, I thought the skate in the blue paint did not allow Shesty's ability to push off to get to the save. So, you know, that the blue paint is without question, that's the biggest determining factor when it comes to that. But we challenged it the other day, and that was the biggest reason why, because we felt strongly that it impeded Chesty's ability to play his position and make the save because he couldn't push off because it hit the skate in the blue paint. I thought this one, I didn't find that to be the case, but he also his head got glanced right before it. So I'm not sure if that was the reason, or was it the skate in the blue paint. I didn't think the skate in the blue paint tonight impeded his ability to push off, to get across. I think that would have went in anyway.
Did you not get an explanation?
No, they never do, though.
They-
We'll
They said it was-
It was
we'll
the-
get it after the fact.
It was the head contact.
It was the head?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I was looking at the skate, you know. I thought after the head contact, I thought he had the ability to recover, but obviously they didn't, and that's where, you know, that's where these things are gray.
They didn't specify the unsportsmanlike conduct on the bench, though, what happened there.
That's between Wes and I.
Just checking.
Mike, did you learn anything new about your team tonight, just going into the third period down 4-0 and scoring 4 goals? Is that the expectation, or did you learn anything new about them, what they can do?
Well, as I said, I admire our fight, you know, that we stayed in it, we kept pushing, you know, and that's what we talked about in between periods, just trying to build on each shift. You know, it helps when you score in the first shift, you know, it gives you some juice. But I really liked how we competed, you know. It's a game of mistakes. Every team makes them, but I thought we competed hard in the third to give ourselves a chance to get back in the game. It's amazing, you know, how much momentum is a factor in our sport. You know, we were able to ride it in the third period. You know, when you don't have it or you get on your heels, your ability to get through those types of situations without getting hurt or mitigating the damage is a big part of winning in this game, I think. And I think the third period is an example of that, just how momentum can be powerful. And but I give our players a lot of credit. I thought they competed hard.